Hi, I'm Reverend Zach.
And I'm just regular Matt.
And welcome to This Movie Was a Hot Dog, a podcast where me and a friend of mine, Matthew, watch a bad movie, critically, financially, or otherwise. Then we break it down, talk about it, and tell you what we think. This week, we tried to go back to our roots, since we've been doing a lot of TrailerTownTime.nets, and last week we watched The Abysmal Escape Plan. And so this week we went, let's watch a monster movie, because that's like why we started this, and that's where we feel like, we can really get our hands dirty. And we were that just did not happen.
Yeah, we were really hoping for a nice fish in the barrel experience with this, and it just, it failed to even live up to that.
And so this week we watched 2014's Animal, directed by Brett Simmons and produced by Drew Barrymore? ?
Yep, she's producing now. Producing quality movies.
Quality in quotes. And it was just, this movie, first of all, anytime you turn on a movie and you look at the runtime and it's way under 90 minutes, you just go, well, there's nothing here.
Yeah, exactly. They couldn't even think up enough to make it feature length.
But that's the thing, though. There was so many opportunities for this movie to be good. There was room for them to write an extra 10 minutes to make this movie interesting. It was, an hour and 20 minutes long?
Yeah.
That's not a movie. That's a long TV show.
And not a good one.
No, and it was, this movie did have some pros, and the cons are really just in, what it's lacking. And we'll obviously have to fill in for where this movie didn't fill in itself, but if you want to take us away, please do.
Sure. So we start, as all excellent animal movies do, with a bunch of kids running through the woods being chased by a monster. Now, I think this was a classic throwback to an excellent movie, Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter, and they really thought that they should set it up this way.
I was waiting to see when one of us would bring that movie up. You just went right out the gate.
Yeah, no, I see there's no reason to beat around the bush. If a movie's going to copy and emulate a really excellent film, you really got to get out there and say what that film was, because
all those things you said about that movie are not true.
That Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter isn't the greatest movie ever filmed?
Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter compared to Animal is Casablanca. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of movies that are better than this movie. And it's just, okay, this movie suffers from just, a lack of really weight to it. I feel like when whoever pitched this movie, they went, man, I want to make a monster movie like I remember from my childhood. And you go, do you know how easy that would be? You put people in the woods, and then a monster shows up. But you don't even remember, even the old monster movies, from the 50s and 60s. Those monsters had an origin.
Yeah.
There isn't one in here. It's just monster.
I feel like anybody who goes about making a monster movie these days just kind of, throws it up and is like, today the monster is this. With Cloverfield, there wasn't really an origin story. Just suddenly it's attack on New York City. And then this, you've got sudden monster.
I will argue, though, that Cloverfield had an excuse. When you go okay, we're just going to film this from a bunch of normal people. The normal average people, especially in New York City, would never figure out where this thing came from.
No, these people were idiots.
Right, but now we're in a cabin with just 8 people. First of all, the movie is so short. They had plenty. It wasn't it was 2.5 hours long. If they explained
they couldn't work it in.
Right. They had plenty of time to work it in.
Yes,
They just
roughly
didn't.
10 more minutes until it was feature length to work in its origin story.
And God forbid it was even regular movie length of maybe a little longer than that. They could have had some more room to play with anything.
Thank goodness it wasn't, though.
Oh, yeah, so a bunch of kids go on a camping trip and a monster shows up.
So the first set of people, so we see them running, we see the group of 4 people running through the woods from the monster that's screaming and whatever. We see one of them get caught, and one of the people immediately turns around and is like, oh man, we've got to save her. And they're like, what? We're running from this thing. What, are you retarded? And then they just keep going, I guess. And then we immediately smash cut to the next group of victims. All of these characters are forgettable, and I'm going to have to give you a confession once we get to later on.
Well, okay, so we got 5 kids. We got main jock guy, white guy. We got a white girl with a lot of eyeshadow on. She was a character in Nickelodeon's.
Just hanging out.
She was a character in Nickelodeon's Victorious. We got a black girl who is the black girl of Nickelodeon's Cousin Skeeter. Her boyfriend is the kid who played Peter Pan in the terrible reboot in 2000 of Peter Pan, and then a gay guy.
Who, like, from the moment he opens his mouth, you're going, man, this guy better die first.
The gay guy is so... And this is where I started to wonder, like, okay, did somebody go like, hey, man, let's make a cheesy monster movie, and it'll be full of cliches? Because the second his mouth opens, you go like, oh, okay, this is going to be sort of a self-aware sort of thing. But when he's not talking, it's not that.
Yeah, I actually had a note in here myself where I talk about how it seems like these people made this movie after seeing Joss Whedon's Cabin in the Woods, where it was a movie kind of built on archetypes.
And if it was a low-rent Cabin in the Woods, it still wouldn't have been good, but there would have been something there. This movie has nothing in it. And so all of the characters are more or less really bland, except for the gay guy. And his character doesn't warrant him being so over the top, because he's not funny.
He's not.
And I don't even really think they meant for him. He has a couple of, like, you know, oh my God, does my hair look like this? I can't believe we're staying in the woods. Sorry for that terrible accent. But
I think you've offended all of our gay listeners.
Yeah, none of them. But then outside of that, he doesn't really say anything that's supposed to be a joke, but he still keeps being... I think there's
a couple more things that are supposed to be a joke. Like,
I don't know.
We'll get into it later, but I thought that there was some personality to these characters, kind of, I guess, opposite of you. You know, the brother and sister are the ones that are supposed to be, you know, they fight like brother and sister. The dumb bimbo character is a dumb bimbo. The one chick that's supposed to be into hiking is pretty outdoorsy and pretty self-reliant. The gay guy is obnoxious and cosmopolitan. So
but see, like the bimbo character, as you call her, she, like, other than the fact that she has her shirt wide open and her tits are hanging out, she's not a bimbo. She's not like, oh my God, are there spiders? What are we doing?
She kind of is like that, though.
No, she's not, though.
I've got some counterpoints to that once we get to the Cabin in the Woods, and this is a Cabin in the Woods movie.
I think that you think that because that's, like, what that archetype is, but she really doesn't portray that. And the brother and sister arguing, I'll argue that the only reason they put those scenes in because they're like, man, this movie's 40 minutes long. Quick, put in just scenes of them fighting about nothing really. Because, spoiler alert, everyone dies. And so they're fighting and... they're just, okay, this is the part that bothered me. Well, 2 things bothered me. So they're driving down the road to go camping, and they hit a road closed sign, and they go, oh no, we can't keep driving to get to the place we want. So they're like, oh, we'll hike the rest of the way. So they pack up their gear, and they start hiking the opposite direction
of where they were driving. And not to mention when they say, like, oh, we've hit a roadblock. I hadn't been paying attention then. I looked up expecting to see, like, a 30-inch diameter log or something like that in the road. It's a fucking, like, 10-pound wooden sign that they could just pick up and throw to the side.
Yeah, it's just a sign. Move it. And the other thing, why are you not going under the sign and walking down the road? Maybe I get it where you're like, okay, let's leave the car here and walk the rest of the way. They get out of the car and they start walking down the road they just came.
Yeah, but, it wasn't that good down that way anyway, so,
I get, but then they're walking through the woods, and now there's the whole argument, like, oh, we're never gonna make it to the spot on time. Like, it's gonna get dark. Well, the one girl has a line where she's like, we have to get there before the sun goes down, which is gonna happen soon. And she said it as if the sun will just turn off like a light bulb.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm like, it looks like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, how far do you guys have to go? And then they're just, next scene, they're walking in the dark, and they're like, come on, we have to get there, we have to get there. And I'm thinking, you guys are camping. Just start a fire.
Yeah.
And set up your goddamn tent. Where are you going?
Yeah, like, there is no there in camping. Like, you just...
And then, like you said, where it's like, where's the backstory? There's some kind of weird something that's hinted where, like, their parents are dead.
Is it hinted like that? It's hinted that they used to go camping with their parents, and he's like, we used to go out way later than this with Dad.
Right, but they also say something else, like something with your dad, where it was almost like, oh, is there a rest of this movie somewhere?
No.
No, the answer's no.
There is not. So that's just, again, another 3 things now that could have filled in the 10 minutes.
So because this movie is so short, the monster shows up what almost seems instantly. They're in the darkness and they hear monster sounds, and then they look and there's a monster cave.
No way.
And they're like, oh no, there's like blood in this cave. And the guy's calling on his phone. No, the guy goes, come on, we'll leave. The best we can do is call the park ranger when we get back to the car. And I'm like, and tell him what? You guys saw an animal? Like, at this point, they haven't seen the monster, so they don't actually know that it's, like, a terrifying thing. They're just gonna go back and call the park ranger and go like, oh, we heard an animal, and then we saw a cave with blood in it, and they're gonna go, okay.
Well, so they talked about, one of the things they said in the movie was, oh, there's a lot of lumber, or there's a lot of, clear cutting happening in this area, and it's displacing a lot of animals. So they can't. There's a scene where you see them kind of like playing around with some bear mace or whatever, but that's still not a reason to call the park ranger.
Oh,
you think a bear sighting isn't a reason to inform the park ranger? Like, hey, by the way, there's like a bear in this area, so maybe you should post signs.
Do I think you need to call a park ranger to let them know that there's a bear in the woods? No, I don't.
I don't know. That just seems like a useful thing. Maybe I don't camp enough.
As a person who grew up where bears were in my backyard, you call the park ranger and go, oh my God, I just saw a bear. He would go, okay, thank you, I guess. Like, they don't care.
All right, fair enough.
And then, literally 35 seconds later, they see this monster, which is like an alligator monkey.
Alligator monkey? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Alligator monkey creature that sounds like a pig sometimes?
No, it's like a mole rat. Like, the face has long, like, mole rat teeth, and then, like, a very similar rodent-looking skull on top of a humanoid body. Where are you getting alligator?
I'm going alligator pig rat. That's how I feel.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not going to refer to you to ever describe animals to me again.
This fake monster in this shitty movie. So then the monster kills what offended me because he was like the least hateable character.
Right? Oh my God, and there's going to be a lot of that going around.
Right, so like as soon as everybody starts talking, in my head I'm going like, okay, gay guy, you die first. White girl, you die second. Black girl's boyfriend, you die third.
Right, I would have called that too.
Right, and then you're like...
And then brother and sister should have been left because they're the only competent people in the woods.
They're only competent people and the only people that you have any sort of backstory with from the beginning. So if you want any sort of characterization, it'll be them sort of coping with, I don't know, possibly their dead parents thing that was sort of half mentioned. But no, the brother dies so fast that you're like, why was he even the brother of that girl? It didn't matter.
I feel like they did this so that people stopped asking questions about their backstory like I was. And it's just like, oh, he's dead. I guess it doesn't matter.
But then in the cabin later on, there's like that flurry of exposition for no reason.
Yeah. So in the pursuit, or in the moments where he dies, the group just kind of books it. And they're like, we're going to cut this way. It's going to take us back to the road as quickly as possible. We didn't come this way before because we were taking the long way around because we were on a casual hike. But now we're just going to cut through. And they stumble across this cabin. And they're like, oh, shit, thank God, a structure. Like, because we are running from a monster. So they're banging on the door, let us in, let us in. They finally get let in, you know, when the people inside unbarricade the door. And inside is just a long-haired, kind of greasy-looking guy and his blonde wife who chuck a road flare at the monster to kind of slow him down as they get the kids inside.
I don't know the blonde hair woman's name, but she is Amy. She's the titular Amy from Chasing Amy, if anybody knows that. Not that anybody cares. So they get inside, and they have dialogue that's so unimportant that it's not even mentionable.
And I don't mention it because I didn't write it down, and I didn't care about any of it. And
this is where I started to get the vibe that, like, because I at the end I figured out this wasn't true, but while I was watching it, also, I started to figure out by the end that I was trying to create a better movie from this movie.
Yeah, as you watch it, you try to, like, you almost think back to things that should have happened that didn't happen, just to kind of fill in all the massive gaps.
Because I thought that, like, the black girl, I thought, like, oh, this is her dad's house. That's why they were bringing up, like, this is where Dad took us camping, and they were talking about their dad. I'm like, this is his house. No, that's not true. And then I was like, oh, I bet that the monster is, like, their dad, who's, like, a mutant because he worked for some company or something. And I was waiting for that to pay off for, like, 10 minutes.
So, Zach, this is where I have to make the confession that I mentioned earlier. I didn't realize until way, way later that the three people that the four kids run into in the house are the three people from the opening of the movie.
It doesn't even matter. Like, they could have cut out the first, like, because the part that you described in the beginning is like, what, 20, 15 seconds long, maybe?
It's like a minute, and it's supposed to be the action hook, and I get that.
First of all, it is not a minute. Second of all, I don't blame you, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. That first part of the movie could have not happened. Again, I feel like they edited the film together. They went, oh my God, it's a minute and 10. It's an hour and 10 minutes long. Add the brother and the sister fighting, and let's just add this little thing in the beginning. Because it just seemed as if they went, like I said before, they were like, let's make a monster movie. To do that, all you need is a monster, right? So they just wrote the monster parts. They didn't write character parts. So when they were done, and they didn't have any of that other things that, you know, make a movie interesting, they realized they didn't have a movie. They had like a long episode of The Twilight Zone, and they needed to go back and fill it in somehow.
I disagree. I feel like this is a character drama set in the world of a bad monster movie.
This is anything but a character drama.
All right, well, so like I said, the cabin is when they really start to flesh out the remaining characters. Boobs and Gay Guy just prove themselves to be absolutely incompetent when it comes to doing anything. Because one of the things that the long-haired guy, Carl, talks about when they first get in, they're like, all right, the beast just fed. The last time it fed, it left us alone for a little while. So we've got to check the perimeter of the house. We've got to fill in any gaps in our barricades. We've got to make sure we're ready for this thing to come busting in at any time.
Okay, what's the characterization of his character?
So Carl is our typical, you know, leadership guy. He is competent. He is pretty level-headed overall. And so as he's directing people, the gay guy and Boobs just look at each other while they're like kind of tapping some of the boarded up windows, and they look and they're just like, I don't know what we're doing. And then they just walk away. And it's like, you know what? You two look like you have no idea what you're doing. I'll allow it.
But none of these things you're saying is characterization, though. Like, you just said, okay, he's the leader. He's the leader because he's the tall white guy.
Well,
Other than that, though, there's nothing to him. His wife, never anything is said about his wife. The only thing that'll argue as a character is the Latino guy,
Doug,
whose wife died in the beginning, and he's like all, I'm brooding and angry, and I just want to get the fuck out of here, and I don't care how I do it.
Yes, the Latino guy, Doug, from the get-go, you just look at him and you're like, oh, you're kind of crazy eyes. You're gonna cause problems for the group later. Like, you're just gonna be that guy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the end, like, it's pretty shallow, but there is some attempt at characterization. And in the end, I can't say this is an action-based monster movie, because it's not. And so the only thing that's left for it is an attempt at a character drama.
But I don't know where you're getting that. There's no, like, they never give you characterization for anybody. Name one thing about the blonde girl.
You mean Carl's wife?
Yeah. Other than that she's Carl's wife.
She doesn't have any characterization beyond Carl's wife.
Exactly! That's what I'm talking about.
But the brother and sister are very brother and sisterly. And
the brother dies so quickly that you can't even use that as characterization. The black girl is like, at one point she goes like, the monster's like is hurting us here. Don't you see that? He's hurting us here so that he can get us later. She has no evidence to support that, by the way.
Well, duh, it's a horror movie proposition.
But they say that as if like, ooh, she's the like street smart something. But they just throw that in there without her having like any prior experience or having any real reason to think that. The gay guy is just...
Is she supposed to have a zoology degree and then like use that as justification? Like, I watched these animals on the savannah and they rounded up people in the cabins in the woods.
You know what, Matt? Yes, they could have done that. They could have made her some sort of zoologist in college, and that could have been her reasoning.
All right, so that's number 4 thing that could have filled in the 10 minutes.
Instead, she just says that. And her boyfriend, other than being her boyfriend, has no characterization.
Which, he is also super bland. All right, you know what? You're convincing me slowly. And it's funny because the only way he gets characterized is when Doug makes fun of him by calling him the sporty guy.
Because we have to call it out, because otherwise, if she's like, hey, you're the smart one, you're the streetwise one, you're the main character, and I'm the gay guy.
Gosh, if he just came out and said, I'm the gay guy, like, I'd give him that much more respect. But instead, he just had to be super flamboyant until we all figured it out.
Because, like, his character did not need to be gay, other than the fact that everybody else was so bland, they went, how are we going to separate him from the other 3 white kids?
No, he did need to be gay, because otherwise he couldn't have made the one part way later in the movie really weird.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what I told you. The part where they just blurt out exposition where you're like, where is all of this coming from?
Well, because it's a character drama, like I said.
Oh, shut up. No, it is not.
Is it an action movie?
I don't know. It's a monster movie.
It's a character drama.
Oh, my God. If you say character drama one more time,
you're going to come to my side.
I'm going to lose my goddamn... I'm going to lose my goddamn mind.
So they start coming up with plans to solve their current crisis of there's a monster outside. And
just the way you said that, as if that is like a standard crisis that people, when you're like, okay, when you're at home and there's a monster outside.
Like you go and you get like some soup and you heat it up and then you decide like which of your friends are going to sacrifice as bait when you run for it. So
we've all been there.
We've all been there. So that's what Doug suggests. He, in a very kind of Riddick moment, he basically almost casts himself as the anti-hero here.
How much better would this have been if Doug, the Latino guy, wasn't in it? When
they just starred Vin Diesel as Riddick.
not starred him, because, like, okay, so they get in the cabin, the monster's like, oh my god, what is that monster? We don't know. And then they're all talking downstairs, and then Doug just says something from upstairs in the darkness, and he walks into the light, almost as if he's a character, which he is not, because none of them are. But it would have been better if it was like, you know, I've been like in here before. And then Vin Diesel walks out, and it's Riddick. We're fighting monsters at night, Matt. It makes sense.
Oh my gosh. I would have, you know what? I would have forgiven all the sins of this movie.
If he just walked out and
with his glowing eyes and was like, let's go.
And then you, like, quick made your way to IMDb where you, like, zoom in because the font is so tiny and it says animal. Chronicles of Riddick Animal.
No, because they undid the thing where they called them all different Chronicles of Riddick, right? Okay, so they made Pitch Black, then they made Chronicles of Riddick, and they re-released Pitch Black, but they called it the Chronicles of Riddick Pitch Black, which made the first one the Chronicles of Riddick, the Chronicles of Riddick. Then the second one became...
No, yeah, you're right. The second one became the Chronicles of Riddick, the Chronicles of Riddick. Then they came out with the third one just called Riddick, that made that one called the Chronicles of Riddick, Riddick.
So none of them made any sense. But in the end, Pitch Black was an excellent movie, and in that, they come up with a plan, or they pretend to at least, where they're going to basically chum the water behind them with one of their party. And that is going to distract the monster and give the rest of the group a means to escape. And no one is in favor of this idea except Crazy Eyes Doug.
Can we just call him Riddick? I'll feel better about it.
No, because he's not. Because Riddick is a character who was very likable in spite of his unlikableness. He was an anti-hero. Riddick was like the best anti-hero. I refuse to accept that.
Doug is just the sixth guy.
Doug is just Crazy Eyes. That is his character. He is Crazy Eyes.
So while they're talking...
Character drama.
So while they're talking, the monster tries to break in another room, and then there's like a 5 minute, like not even 5 minutes, a minute and a half spat where they're like, oh no, get away, monster, and the monster goes away, and then they board up the windows again until the monster comes back in 3 minutes from now.
During this time, they finally realize, like, so Sporty Guy, who again we only know is Sporty because Doug keeps calling him the Sporty Guy, is like, you know what? Doug's kind of right. Like, we gotta do a distraction, but we're not going to be assholes and gut one of us. Just make enough noise at the house, draw the monster to the house, hold out against the monster. Meanwhile, while he's trying to break in, I'm just going to be booking it to the highway. And it's like, okay, you know, we finally have a plan.
Oh, prior to this, just before this, the monster is, like, on the porch, like, creeping around, and it's making a bunch of pig sounds. And then it jumps on the roof and breaks into the house on the second floor.
Which Doug said he had barricaded and nobody had to worry about.
Right, but this was also supporting the theory in my head where I'm like, oh, it knows how to get in because it's the mutated version of the black girl's father.
Nope.
And it's going to try to communicate with them somehow.
By eating one.
And then it knows how to get it. It knows the cabin because this is her cabin and this is her father's cabin.
Nope.
I figured it out.
Nope.
Yeah, that's not it at all.
Not it at all. Possibly a fifth thing that could have filled in those vital 10 minutes towards feature length.
But so the monster gets in upstairs and the like Carl, the main white guy gets scratched.
The only competent person.
And gets scratched by the monster, and they board up the window. And the only reason I bring up that he gets scratched is because he gets scratched, and they focus in on, like, his cut. Now, maybe in a good movie, like, he'd be bleeding out, and the monster would smell it, or something. That doesn't happen.
Or so maybe he would turn.
Or that started to make me think that we were dealing with a werewolf monster situation, and he was going to slowly turn into one of the monsters. So at this point, I scrapped the mutant father, and I'm like, oh, now it's like a virus. Okay, I can get into that. And then that didn't happen either.
At every turn, you just wanted this to be a better movie than it was.
Well,
I was already numb at this point, and I just didn't give a shit about any of it. And
I told you while we were watching it, this movie needed a legend or a myth or like a mad scientist
or like all 10 minutes to make it feature length.
all the black girl sister needed to do was be like, you know, my dad used to tell us that back in the day there was this thing called the boogadoo, and that thing used to come out and eat children when they had bad dreams. You know, something to give this monster like. And then she'd go like, my father was right. The boogadoo is a real thing. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I thought he was just scaring me. What a dick.
But if they had something like that, then I could just be like, okay, it's a monster that lives in these woods. I understand it now. I cannot hammer home enough how much these monsters are not explained. And that bugs the shit out of me.
But, I mean, that's what you get. That's why a feature-length movie is 90 minutes. It's kind of like an essay, you know, that you write for a teacher. It's like, you know, I'm not going to give you a minimum length, but you need to do a good enough job. It needs to be as long as it needs to be. And so a movie like this, like 90 minutes is kind of the standard because that's about how much time it usually takes to write a good story. And this comes up short in so many ways of being a good story.
And I think we should also take a minute to, okay, so we've been talking about why this movie's so short and everything it lacks. Let's talk about the one thing it does have. This monster looks pretty good.
Yeah, the monster's pretty passable.
It's not a CGI, it's a puppet monster, and it's walking around, and it's not like a shitty modern horror movie where you don't really see the monster, it's always in the darkness. Like, you get several really good shots of this thing, and it looks like a monster. It's okay, which made me even angrier because they wasted this halfway decent puppet monster on this shitty movie that's barely as long as 3 episodes of Rocko's Modern Life, for Christ's sake.
You know, and at the end you can recommend Rocko's Modern Life as a...
You know what? I will!
I'll hold you to that. So they start implementing the plan to have Sporty Guy run for it, and Carl, being the only competent male left outside of him, he goes outside to cause a distraction with a road flare. By the way, in the cabin, they never find like a big box of road flares. They just seem to keep pulling them out of their ass throughout the whole movie.
And it bothered me because I'm like, they could turn these road flares into weapons. Instead, they're just using them as like, oh, we're running out of flashlight batteries.
/ we never had flashlights. Wait, yeah, they did. I forgot a lot of this movie. I couldn't be bothered to care.
And it's so funny because, like, we literally just watched
it. But, you know, I don't really love character dramas, and so...
I swear to God, Matt. Like, I don't even know anymore if you're saying this as a joke. And that is really bothering me.
Who knows?
Maybe I mean it, maybe I don't. It's almost like this conversation has more mystery in it than this movie does.
True. So Carl is outside, and you know who he brings with him for a lookout is the flamboyant gay guy who up to this point has been useless in all senses of the word.
And this is when me and Matt are crossing our fingers going, oh, die.
Yeah, right? Like the gay guy finally steps out into... vulnerability, leaving the house, flapping his gums the whole fucking time.
Oh yeah, he won't shut the fuck up the whole movie. And he's outside where he knows a monster is that has killed 2 people he knows. And he's like, and he just won't shut up. I'm not even going to pretend to act like I know what he says. He just won't shut up.
And so, yeah, we were both watching at the same time, and it was like, oh man, come on. Come on, because he has to be next. This was before we learned that the characters were somewhat dying of importance in order of competence.
And so, okay, before you explain the rest of the scene, spoiler alert, the gay guy doesn't die now.
Damn it.
And when he didn't die, I went, okay, the movie knows that we hate him, and they're building his character up for, like, that really big, violent death where, like, they rip the top of his head off and drink his brains. I was waiting for something like that.
Boy, were you disappointed.
Oh, God, I know! Ah!
So, Carl's outside. He's got a road flare. He's blowing a whistle. He's being the best distraction a distraction can be. Meanwhile, the gay guy, like, is sitting there with a set of, like, tiny little, like, My First binoculars.
Those plastic ones you get at the zoo gift shop that are just 2 pieces of plastic.
It's like maybe 2 times magnification tops looking at these things. And so, but he's looking at him and he spots the monster in the woods. He's like, all right, it's about 10 yards ahead of you at the 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30 position. So just keep it there. Don't move. Don't go any farther. You're close enough to it. You've got its interest. Like, Matt, you're up. That's sporty guy. So he's like, okay. So Matt wastes all the time in the world getting ready to go because he's an idiot. So I guess that's just people who share my name. Yippee. So he finally, after like kissing his girlfriend goodbye and basically giving everyone a soliloquy in their name, goes outside and just tears off running. And immediately over the radio, you hear, hey guys, I don't see the monster anymore. I know that was my job to keep track of it, but like, I don't know where it is. And they're like, no, he's like, wait, you know, it's probably right there. We're probably fine. And then just over the radio, you immediately hear Matt going, oh my God, it's got me. Like,
like he held the button down to go, I'm being eaten.
Right? Because it's a walkie-talkie, so it's not like it's just passively picking up his audio.
And so the boyfriend's dead and the gay guy isn't, and you're like, oh God. So they run back inside because the monster is like, I don't know, killed that guy and then immediately got back to them. At this point, all I could think is, you know what? In this exact scene in Blood Glacier, this is when Prime Minister Grandma picked up a 3-foot drill glacier bit and was just drilling into the head of an elk beetle, and they were using flamethrowers, and they were, you know, fighting off bees that came out of a man's body. And
with anything but guns.
Right, and I'm like, this movie has none of that.
No. Like, at one moment, we actually get some bear mace from gay guy, oddly enough, but that's about it.
Yeah, for half a second, like...
And then I guess they run out of it, or I don't even know.
They used it once, and it worked, and they went, oh, good, that worked. Let's never have that option again? Like, the second he uses the bear mace, Carl should be like, what is that? Give that to me. That's mine now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that, like, only he has the one can of it and not, like, each of them, you know, it's like, hey, maybe we should just all carry some with us, just, you know... Because apparently wild animals are going to be a problem.
So the boyfriend is dead, or so we think, plot twist.
Hint, hint.
And they all run back inside. And
but do they get inside?
Don't they?
Zach,
oh, no. That's right. Riddick bars up the door.
Crazy Eyes, who is not Riddick.
Crazy Eyes bars up the door. He's like, we can't let them in because the monster's going to get in. And then I was
not even close to them.
And then this is when I started playing a game on my computer where you guess all the names of the countries in the world, so I forgot how they got back in.
So, as someone who watched the movie, they, oddly enough, the black chick is like, okay, like, I found there's another door that's kind of weak. It's in the kitchen. If you go around the house, go there. I'll meet you there. I'll unbarricade it real quick, and we'll get inside. Because
did this really happen?
Yes, because Doug, like, the wife, Carl's wife, is, like, attacking Doug. Like, let him the fuck in. And he's like, well, I'm just going to throw you because I'm, like, huge. So they run around to the side. They get in through the kitchen. They slam the door shut and put a washing machine in front of it. And then Carl just goes to Doug and is like, hey, so you know how you just left me outside to die? And he just punches him unconscious.
And then they handcuff him to a stair banister.
Where he stays for not long enough.
So it is at this point when we're all back inside, all the surviving people are back inside, and there's just this flurry of this exposition that, if fleshed out by a person who knew how to write a movie, could, like, write in some drama, but it comes in at such these, like, weird angles. So, okay, so maybe if I explain it, it'll be better.
Because you're doing a terrible job now.
The movie, I'm doing a just as good job as the movie did.
Fair.
So they get inside, and the black girl and the white girl are talking, and they're like, oh, my God, doesn't it suck that there's a monster out there? And she's like, yeah, I know.
Oh, my God, totally.
And then the white girl hugs the black girl and goes, I'm pregnant. And it's delivered in such a flat tone, and the black girl doesn't react at all, that I was like...
They just keep hugging, and it's just like, yep.
And, yeah, she's like, I'm pregnant. And that's when you go, like...
I don't even remember which one of them said I was pregnant. And you couldn't tell based on the reaction afterwards, and I just let it go.
It was the white girl, but it started making me think, again, I'm filling the movie in for itself, where I'm like, oh... she's pregnant, and there's going to be like a predator thing where it's not going to kill her because it won't kill a pregnant woman. Doesn't happen. And in the moment when she goes, I'm pregnant, the black girl doesn't go, oh my God, you're pregnant with my brother's baby?
Yeah.
With my brother's baby, I'm reacting to that somehow and having an emotion, and maybe that will carry over into this film.
And maybe that will add like 10 minutes to this movie and make it feature length.
Number seven reason they could carry, and you're like, no, okay, because she says that, and then nobody ever says anything about it ever again.
And why would they?
Like, she goes, I'm pregnant, and as soon as she says the T in pregnant, it's gone. And you're like, all right. So then the gay guy walks in, and he starts having like a mental breakdown where he's like, oh my God, I've had to run for my life twice, and this monster keeps chasing us. And I don't know if you noticed, but the whole time he's having his breakdown, he's standing in front of a window that isn't quite barricaded.
Oh my God, I kept waiting for the monster to just grab him. I was like, this is where he dies. This is it.
You're like,
the monster's going to grab him right now.
Exactly. He's going to be having this mental breakdown. He's going to be saying a bunch of stupid things, and they're going to be like, it's okay, we love you, or whatever, and then the monster's going to come in and kill him. And it's going to be right, and bite his head off and drink his brains. And it's going to be a really stupid reveal, but it's going to be, it's going to be classic.
It would have been so worth it.
But instead of that,
right where that would have been,
he goes, hey, white girl, your boyfriend, I had a gay crush on him. And she's like, you know what? This isn't the time to bring that up. You're gay. I get it. You thought he was attractive.
And he's pretty hot. I thought he was hot too. Whatever.
Right. I get that. That's cool. And he goes, no, he also was gay?
It wasn't one way.
Right. And then when he says that is the part in a good movie where he gets eaten.
But no. Instead, we're just left to let that hang in the air, and the girl yells at him, and she's like, why the fuck would you tell me that? You're an asshole. And then she walks away. So, and then guess what? And then the two big plot somethings in that scene, I'm pregnant, I'm the gay guy, and I was having a gay relationship with your boyfriend who you are now carrying the baby. That should be a huge character thing. Like, those two characters should try to kill each other, or have this, like, or have this part where they, like, reconcile as they're both about to die. The second they leave the room where they both said those things, they cease to exist. And that is thing number 8 that could have stretched out the movie to feature length.
That movie, those two things alone could have stretched this movie out to 2 hours if you used the both of them. Yep. They go, I'm pregnant. Okay, I liked your boyfriend, and he was also gay, I think. That's it. That's all. When they said those two things, I was like, what the fuck is going on in this goddamn cabin?
Nothing. Nothing's going on.
It's
not an action movie. It's barely a horror movie. It's a character drama.
Oh my God!
They're trying to make it a character drama. They didn't succeed, but it's what they wanted.
Oh my God, if you were in this room right now, I would kill you. They are not... If this was a character drama, the other characters would
I didn't say it was a good one.
They would react to that, or it would flesh itself out.
Why bring it up if it wasn't one?
Why bring it up if nothing else happens? Okay.
Because it's a bad one.
If I'm sitting in a room with you, and I look to you and go, oh, by the way, my wife's pregnant, and you went, oh, that's great, congratulations. That does not a drama make.
I know, I'm not very dramatic.
Okay.
What do you want from me?
It's my point being is the characters in this life and death situation should not have the same reaction you have if I was like, oh, my wife's pregnant. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, they should be like, my brother got you pregnant? We have to save you. Or be like, we have to save you to have my brother live on. Or like, oh, my brother had a baby with you, but he was also gay with that guy, and I don't know how I'm going to handle this. Oh,
maybe so it ended up being his babies. How do babies work? I don't know.
So we didn't even bring that up. So the gay guy says he was gay, and I liked him, and he liked me too. And I'm the white girl, and he has my baby. The sister should be going through something. She's barely in that scene.
Yep.
Oh my God, I hate this movie so fucking hard.
All right, so to distract you from this movie, we're going to talk more about the plot of the movie. And Carl hears Doug hears the walkie-talkie making some kind of noise. Apparently it has a ping function. I haven't used a walkie-talkie in 10 years. Why not? Either way, it's making some noise indicating that the other walkie-talkie is trying to kind of ping it and find out where it is. So they take the walkie-talkie, now knowing about this feature, and they try to ping back the other one. And when they ping it back, they hear a pinging noise coming from the basement, and they're like, oh shit, Matt's in the basement. Matt's still alive, and he's not quite outside, so we might be able to do something about this.
And this is when one of the characters should have went, there's a basement in this house?
They talked about that weeks ago. When they first
Did they?
When they first went into the house, they're like, yeah, we didn't think that we had to block the basement, and then it came in through the basement once, and we barely blocked off the basement in time. Basement.
Well, okay, well, forgive me for not listening to everything everyone says in this movie where no one says anything.
Everyone says everything, Zach. It's a character drop.
Oh, boy.
So, Carl, being, again, continuing to be the only competent male, is like, all right, we've got to mount up. We've got to go into the basement. We're going to rescue Matt. We're going to regroup. And that's where we're going to be. And Doug goes, do not do that. Oh, my God, I'm Crazy Eyes. Don't go leave me. Please, I'm Crazy Eyes. And Carl is like, you can fucking come and help, you piece of shit. And he's like, no, I'm just going to be Crazy Eyes. You just leave me on the stairs, okay? So Carl and the ladies mount up and go into the basement. They find a bleeding, just dying Matt with the walkie-talkie. And he's like, all right, like fucking you two, the girls who can't lift their own weight, pick up this guy and drag him to the stairs. I'm going to stand around.
This guy the boyfriend is so dead, by the way, that like when they turn him over, like his organs are hanging out of his body, like they cannot save this man.
No, they can. They're all surgeons. Remember when they characterized the woman earlier as a medical student, and she was able to sew really good in that one scene where she had to sew up the thing. And so now she's going to be able to sew him up. And thing number 9 that could have stretched out the movie to feature length.
Thing number 9.
So anyway, the two women that can't possibly pick up this person, because earlier in the movie, I forgot to mention this, they failed to push like just a tiny dresser in the way. So they're trying to drag an adult male, and they can't do it. So Carl's like, I'm going to go fight the monster and buy time. And spoiler alert, Carl dies because he's the only other competent male. So far, 3 competent men have like been killed in this. Meanwhile, just everybody else is coasting on fine. If you want to survive in a Drew Barrymore movie, you need to be a woman or retarded.
If you want to survive in a Drew... I will say this, though. The black girl does manage to pull herself off as competent.
She does, which is why I thought she was going to die next.
I thought she was... since this movie was nothing but cliches up till this point, I was like, she's going to be the last one to live, and she's going to kill the monster as the sun comes up because she discovers that, like, oh no, Silver kills it, or if I pray,
wanting it to be a vampire or a werewolf or something in established mythos.
I want it to be anything.
And it's not. It's just a giant human naked mole rat.
So Carl dies off screen, which I'm okay with because he was like one of the more likable characters, so I don't need to see him violently killed.
We don't.
They get the boyfriend up to the room,
so that he can slowly die in front of the fire.
And they slowly dies in front of the fire. And as he's dying, he's like, everybody in the room needs to know the thing I'm going to say. There's 2 monsters, and he holds up 2 fingers, and everyone's
like,
what?
Is that what he says?
Yeah, that could not have been more obvious.
Oh my God, I couldn't follow any of that. He was just choking and sputtering, and all I was doing was listening to Doug.
Because as he's talking, he's like, there's 2, and he's holding up 2 fingers, and everyone's like, you were like everyone else in the movie, because everyone is like, what's he saying? I don't understand what he's saying. I can't understand what he's saying, probably because I just said I don't understand what he said. What did he say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear him. I was talking
over him the whole time. Meanwhile, Doug is also saying, this guy's dying. He's dead. This is the chum we've been waiting for. Just leave him.
And the guy is trying to warn them that there's more than one monster, and nobody can be bothered to listen to him.
I did not find out there was more than one monster until I read the Wikipedia plot afterwards.
So, Doug is like, okay, this is what we gotta do. We gotta drag him outside, and they're like, no, we can't do that. How does Doug get unhandcuffed?
Gosh, you're an idiot. So they're like, all right. Like, what we're going to do is... So they create a plan. Competent black girl creates a plan. She's like, in the basement, I saw just a fuck ton of kerosene. The monster is trying to break into this level of the house. So if we get it in here, he's going to stay here. When we do that, we close all the doors, we throw the kerosene down, we burn the house down around it. We are just going to bring the house down. We're going to bring the monster down with it. So let's get everybody up together. We're about to get moving. And Doug's like, you know what? That's a good plan. Forget my plan. Your plan is the plan. So they're like, all right, good. Like, Doug's on our side. It's going to be good to have, like, a large, able-bodied man helping us out with this. So then gay guy goes and unties Doug, and as we're watching that, or as he's doing that, we see girlfriend, like, talking to Matt, like, it's going to be okay. We're going to get you out of here. Everything's going to be fine. And then blood is all over her face as Doug just starts clubbing Matt's head in and is like, your plan's retarded. We're doing my plan. He's going to be human chum, and we're going to lure the monster with him.
Gay guy's still not dead, by the way.
I thought that, like, he could have at least taken a swing at the gay guy on the way over to Matt just to, like, raise the body count. You know, more meat, more bodies, more the merrier. Why not?
Hits him in the head and go, you're the worst character in this terrible movie.
And then he just hits him for like 10 minutes straight. And it's like, hey, this movie starts to get good. And then
as he's like, he's hit him so hard with the bat, he's just rubbing brains into the floor. One of the remaining characters will just go, oh, finally.
Right? Boom. Thing number 10 to add 10 minutes more to the movie.
So now Doug has bludgeoned the boyfriend to death and is dragging him towards the door. And he's like, all right, all of you stupid women, you're going to listen to my plan because I'm a man. And we're going to do what And then a monster breaks in and eats him.
Right? During the one soliloquy that, like, where he's even in front of the one well-barricaded door and the monster breaks in and eats him. Not during the gay guy's stupid shit.
Where he's like, oh, he was gay and I'm gay and you're pregnant. And
the things that no one cares about. No, like when this guy is finally delivering some lines of like, I'm crazy. And then they just monster.
So this monster, like, who has apparently, like, the whole movie has been aware of everybody, including the people he is killing. Like, he kills somebody and then runs back to kill somebody else. He eats Doug and then is not aware of the other 3 people in the room, and they, like, it's like a cartoon where they tiptoe out of the room, where they go like, boop, 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 boop.
While he's just feasting on Doug.
So while he's eating this guy, and that's the other thing, too, throughout this movie, when the monster has killed somebody and eaten them, the monster has never once been like, well, I'm going to eat this guy, and I'm going to eat his entire body, and then when I'm done with that, I'll move on to somebody else. He's always killed them and then immediately chased somebody else. But Doug, he's taking his time.
So to your point there, like, usually in monster movies, there's kind of 2 kind of monsters. They'll characterize, like, the predator, like, oh, he kills for sport, so he just kind of kills and moves on. Or you've got, the other kind of monsters where it's like he's killing to eat. So they kill and they feed and they rest. So Carl early on in the movie characterized it as a kill to feed kind of monster. Because he was like, after they killed Doug's wife, we had some downtime and we were able to kind of barricade the house. And after they killed what's-his-face, the brother, whose name didn't matter, they had some downtime to barricade the house. But now suddenly it's becoming, kind of a kill for sport kind of monster.
So as it's eating Doug, they are they're dumping gasoline and they're setting a trap up, and they go, okay, we're going to do your plan where we're going to light the house on fire. Great. So you light the house on fire, and then we'll run away. Where is the best place to hide in a house that's burning? The basement, of course.
Duh.
So they hide in the basement, and then the naked mole rat is like, I heard a noise. I'm going to get up and go look over there. So it gets up and goes look over there, walks right in front of the fireplace, even though it's been afraid of fire this entire time. And then they lock it in this room, and they light the kerosene on fire, and then all the people in the basement...
With one of the infinitely spawning road flares.
Right. It's like a goddamn Resident Evil game. They're like, oh, we opened up this chest, and that's where we've been storing all of our save points. And... as they're getting ready to leave, the blonde girl's like, oh my God, there's my husband, whom I know was dead and could not clearly be more dead. I'm going to try to, wake him up.
Because it's a character drama and she loves it.
Oh my God. And meanwhile, not only is her husband clearly dead, there is a house on top of them.
On fire.
Burning to the ground.
Quickly.
And so... The boobs is like, come on, we gotta go, come with me. And she's like, oh, okay. And then blonde girl, older blonde lady gets killed by a monster in in an attack that is like in a medieval drama, like Braveheart or something, where a sword goes through somebody's body. These monsters have not been shoving their claws through somebody and watching them die. They've been killing them to eat them. Yep. And now, like you said, they just killed blonde lady for sport all of a sudden?
And you know how mad this next thing I'm going to say is going to make you?
Well, if you say the words character or drama, I swear to Christ.
A character dramatically dies.
Oh, don't even.
They killed the gay guy before the blonde lady, but his death was so quick and insignificant you forgot to mention it.
That's right. And you're absolutely right. I did, because it's so fast. So it's the blonde lady, Boobs, and the gay guy in the basement. So they're all getting ready to run away. She's like, oh no, my husband's dead. Boobs is like, leave your husband here. We gotta leave. And meanwhile, the gay guy screams off screen. You see him go, oh no. And then he's just pulled out of frame by the monster that you don't eat.
That's all the payoff you get for his death.
The one character that I wanted to die violently is killed off screen.
And so quickly you forgot it.
And you're right. Oh, God, this movie is such dog shit.
So again, killing the gay guy for 10 minutes, but with the monster, away 11, they could have stretched it out to feature length.
I would have watched 9 minutes of this monster just tear this guy to pieces and eat his entire body. And instead, they're just like, we'll just mention it.
Yep, and so now it's Boobs and Black Chick. They meet up outside the house, and Black Chick's like, where's the other people you were with? And Boobs is like, fuck them, we're going. And so they blitz it off, and then Boobs trips and falls, and her ankle's busted, and it's like, oh man, another victim for the monster. Looks like Black Chick's gonna win the lottery. But no.
This is when I told you, where I'm like, obviously the Black Chick's gonna make it, because she's the only main character left, so Boobs is going to die. Right, Boobs is going to die. The black girl is going to have some sort of last-minute plan and, get away, or at least almost get away. Or something. Nope, the monster just catches them and just kills the black chick with such little importance that I don't know why we had to watch it in slow motion.
This was one of the most drawn-out deaths of the whole movie.
So the black girl's getting eaten, and she's writhing on the ground as this thing is eating her.
It honestly looks like it's having sex with her.
It does. And then we cut to the white chick, who like
Is
leave,
watching.
but not only that, CGI leaves are falling around her face in slow motion.
And
then
it
we
looks
cut
terrible.
back. Right. Then we cut back to the black chick who's being eaten slowly. Then back to the boobs' face where more leaves are falling in slow motion. And maybe if they had fleshed out the "I'm pregnant with your brother's baby" thing,
There might have been a
would,
significant look between them.
right, that would have meant something. But because there wasn't, you're just like, did we slow this down to add another 40 seconds to this short movie?
I think we did.
Thing number 11.
We already did thing number 11. Boobs eventually comes out of her trance with watching her friend murdered, because I guess that's what gets her off. And she books it to the car. Zach, do you remember how long and how far she had to run to get to the car?
They had been hiking in the beginning. They left their car, and then they were hiking in the woods for easily 4
from
hours.
Like noon to nightfall, basically.
At least. It was at least 4 or 5 hours, because they started midday, and by the time they got to the cabin, it was pitch black outside. She starts running, and she's at the car in, 20 seconds, maybe?
Tops. They were right there the whole time.
It looks like they could have thrown a football to their car.
Right? Like, suddenly the plan of, hey, we should just run to the car, doesn't sound so bad. It's like, if all 7 of us run, one of us is going to die, but the rest of us are just going to get in and go.
It's almost like when the boyfriend was like, "I'll run to the car," he ran out the door, and then the second he was off frame, he's like, "I'm in no rush.
I'm in no rush. Look, it's right there.
I'll just light jog it."
Oh God, the monster.
I'm dead.
And so, yeah. So the chick makes it to the car, and then as she's starting it up, the monster busts the window in and grabs at her, and it's like, oh shit, and so she's kicking at it in the window. By the way, so we saw the one burn, and then the other one that attacks them, that's how we know there's 2 monsters. I never really got that until you said it / I looked it up on Wikipedia. But anyway, so she does kind of ring around the rosy with the car for a little bit with the monster, and it looks really dumb, until finally she gets in, throws it in reverse, shakes the monster off the hood, and then just plows over the thing, and just rips its body to shreds, and then drives away. And in the last scene, hinting at a much-anticipated sequel, we see, dun dun, a third animal just kind of sniffing at the dead carcass of its fallen relative, I guess. And so at this point, it's like, wow, there's a whole bunch of these things which were apparently just undiscovered. So, if you live near a bunch of thick woods, what you should do is get a big party of your friends and go out and hunt for any undiscovered animals, because it's very likely that some exist out there. And you should take pictures, but don't stay out past night, otherwise you're all going to get eaten, because there could be as many as 3 of them out there, or even more. We don't know. We'll have to watch the sequel to find out.
Also, don't be black, pregnant, or gay. Well, no, the pregnant chick lives, which doesn't make any sense. But it doesn't make any sense, because in the beginning they make the brother and the sister thing a real big
that's the
point.
Biggest characterization.
Yeah, point of tension. Brother dies so fast, you're like, I guess that didn't matter. Then the black girl hangs around for the entire movie, and she is the only one that, other than Carl, the competent adult male, is like, I know what's going on, listen to me, I've got a plan, here's what we got to do. Then she dies at the end, so you're like, I guess we weren't supposed to care about her. Did the white girl live because she was pregnant, and that we were supposed to something?
I think she lived because she was so bland.
They forgot to write her character out.
Exactly. The monster just looked at her and was like, "You probably don't taste good."
If it was like Predator Vision or something, it would just be not identifying any character.
And even, what's funny? She had a Predator moment as she was running to the car. I had forgotten about this. She throws off her bloody shirt and covers herself in dirt,
right? Which
does nothing.
What part 13 now?
Yeah.
She could have.
She could have
Right.
easily like utilized that to hunt it back, or to slip by, or to add like kind of some kind of stealth component. But no,
Yeah.
she covers herself in dirt and then proceeds as normal to the car, where the thing tracks her immediately as if she hadn't done that.
I was going to say, so her shirt is covered in blood. She takes it off because she's like, oh, the monster might be able to smell this, then rubs dirt all over her body, which is not a dumb idea. But there's not a thing where it's like the monster is like right behind a tree that she's hiding behind and is trying to smell her and can't smell it. Nothing happens.
No, she just gets to the car in 20 seconds.
Right, but then the monster still finds her.
So yeah, I guess I would definitely agree with you. Thing 13, that could have stretched this out to feature length.
Oh, this is just... Okay, so we're done. We've finished the movie, right?
Well, we finished the movie. I mean, we could keep bashing it for probably like...
Well, we will, but let me just tell you this. We've been talking for 1 minute and 14 seconds.
Hour and 14 minutes.
An hour and 14 minutes. We have only been talking about this movie. The movie is only 6 minutes shorter than we've been talking about it.
6 minutes longer.
Right. God damn it.
What's wrong with you?
This movie fucking tatered my brain.
Right, and so when I say it's a character drama and you disagree with me...
Yeah, right, and I will.
It's probably your tatered brain disagreeing with me.
Unless we have a less arguing episode, my tombstone will read, not a character drama. Here lies Zach.
And then I'm going to go pee on your grave.
Like we said in the beginning, we watched this movie because we thought that, you know what, we've been watching movies and doing a lot. We watched a movie that wasn't good, it was boring, and then we watched a bunch of trailers. Let's go back to our roots. Man, did we fuck that up.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this would be like half as interesting as Blood Glacier in the least. But, you know, like that, the thing we always say is the worst thing a movie can be is boring. And this movie, for giant swaths of it, is boring. There's a reason they cut it down to 1 hour and 20 minutes, because they didn't have a lot of good ideas.
But
and there are so many ready ones to fill in that time with, and yet they didn't efficiently use the time they had.
I agree. Last week we watched Escape Plan. That movie was 2.5 hours long and was boring. It had a lot of stuff in it, but what it had in it, nobody gave a goddamn shit about. And then in a movie where you're like, great, a monster shows up, it's classic. All they got to do is, oh no, this monster has always, the Native Americans sent this curse on us because we're white people. And then the monster shows up. They don't do that, and the movie's so short that, like you said, they had so much space and time to play with. The only thing I can think is they're like, oh my god, we completely ran out of money.
That is the only thing.
The movie needs to end today.
Drew Barrymore was the primary backer, and that's how she got the producer role. And then she's like, oh man, you know what? Like, I haven't acted in a while. I have no money left. And they're like, well, wrap it and cut it.
And then they did. And then they put this on Netflix for people like you and me to watch. And like you said,
did they release it anywhere else, Zach?
Chiller, the TV network.
How much money did it make, Zach?
I don't know, because no one saw it.
Because no one can know, because the IMDb page literally just says, if there's an error, please contact us. And that's it. Wikipedia won't give us any reliable figure for a cost or a gross.
Because this has got to be some sort of tax scam, right?
Exactly. You know what? That's probably it. You remember the movie The Producers? They probably were like, man, let's make like a really crappy character drama, and then
wait, what? You're just gonna keep squeezing it in, huh?
I'm gonna keep twisting the knife.
Let's make a really crappy character drama,
and then it's gonna go bankrupt, and then the insurance is gonna pay us tons of money, and we're gonna be loaded. And then Will Ferrell is gonna accidentally make a Nazi song, and it's gonna be a huge success. And wait, that would have been an interesting movie, and this wasn't that. So.
And they made that already twice.
They did.
So, obviously, we all know how we feel about this movie, but please give us your rating and review.
Okay, so my final thoughts. Again, any movie that's less than 90 minutes immediately has a black mark on it because it shows the lack of effort. It shows that you weren't willing to explore the ideas that could have been fleshed out and filled in that time. We listed 13 super obvious things, but there are 10,000 more that could have easily made this into a real movie. The characters, as much as I enjoyed saying this and like just rubbing your face in it, the characters were flat as shit. It was awful. The action sequences were super quick. No one ever even managed to put up even the slightest fight against the monster. The suspense was okay. The characters, the frickin' one guy just wouldn't shut up. It was so annoying. The rest of the characters were highly forgettable. You'll notice we maybe used 2 names throughout the whole movie because we couldn't remember any of them because they weren't worth remembering. Overall, I would give this movie, I don't know, I'm in a dark room, so I would give it like -3 light bulbs out of 10, with 0 being the worst. And so, yeah, it's an awful movie. If you're looking for a good movie, a good monster movie, Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter. Excellent monster movie that starts off with a bunch of people running from a monster. So very similar, easy transition. If you're looking for a excellent Cabin in the Woods movies, there are 10,000 of those, and they're all great. The best real one obviously being The Evil Dead, and the best spoofy one being The Cabin in the Woods. I am huge fans of all 3 of those movies, and they are all better than this on their worst day.
Well, I picked this movie, first of all, because I thought, I am so sorry. I picked this movie because when you look at it on Netflix, it's just a picture of a monster, and it's like, oh, monsters in the woods, and people get eaten. And you go, and like I said, me and Matt were like, oh, perfect. That's exactly what we love. Let's just do that. It'll be silly, and it'll be probably okay, but, you know, there'll be plenty of things to talk about.
And it'll be stupid and fun.
This is a boring movie. I have just, outside of, like, old monster movies from, like, the 40s, I have yet to see a boring monster movie. This movie is so boring. The characterization that you mentioned is, and the thing is, too, where it'd be like, oh my god, they had all these opportunities and they didn't flesh them out, wouldn't be nearly as frustrating if they didn't bring them up. If they didn't mention, oh, I'm pregnant, your boyfriend was gay, and it was just these people hiding from this monster, you'd be like, there's a lot of things missing here. They could have filled it in, but they brought up interesting things and then didn't follow through, which was just, you're like, what are you doing? It's right there. You wrote it. Just write a little bit more and you're done.
You're right. It is almost a worse sin that they do that.
And like Matt said, the suspense is decent. The monster looks decent. If you are in dire need to see a monster movie, do not see this one. Usually, when a movie is boring or bad, I say, like, you know, you're bored on a Sunday and you're hungover, you can watch this movie. This is not that, because you'll fall asleep or just, you know, you'll turn it off. If we didn't have to watch it for this, not that we have to, because it's not like we're getting paid or anything, I struggled to make it through this movie. Honestly, the only thing that made me finish it was every time I clicked the time counter, I was like, oh, it's almost done, because it's so goddamn short. So don't watch this movie. I'm not even going to give it a rating. I'm going to say this movie is a giant piece of dog shit. For my movie suggestions, you could go on YouTube and watch 3 episodes of Rocko's Modern Life. Those are better.
I was hoping you'd forget.
No, I'll never forget Rocko's Modern Life. That's my favorite TV show still. And in terms of other Cabin in the Woods movies, Matt absolutely had it right. There are 10,000 that are better than this. Evil Dead is the one I want to go to, but you already said that.
Evil Dead 2, so, you have that one.
Evil Dead 2, Friday the 13th, hell, even Halloween. That's not at a cabin, but it's the basic premise and has a more interesting story. Cabin in the Woods is a great movie if you haven't seen it. It's almost better if you haven't seen it and you see it without anybody spoiling why it's good, because once everything is revealed, it really has a more interesting story, and it's a fucking joke. The whole movie is a goddamn joke, and it's more interesting than this.
Oh, it so is.
It so is, and it's just... How long have we been talking now? A minute, an hour 24. We've beat it. We beat the time for this movie. Talking about the movie.
Well, we've worked hard, and we really try. And when we put our mind to it...
We tried harder than they did. Well, I got nothing else to say about it. Do you?
Other than that, it's a hot dog.
Other than that, this movie's a fucking pile of dog shit. If you have any questions about this fucking shitty movie and don't want to watch it yourself to find the answers, you can email us at moviehotdog@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at moviehotdog. You can like us on Facebook at This Movie Was a Hot Dog. And God, I'm actually no joke. I'm actually worked up. So just fuck this movie.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of character dramas, so I'm not a big fan of it either.
I hate you.